Okay. Well, hello. I'm here with Doug to talk about supply chain attacks and quite a few other random news things. It is Friday, September 26th, 2025. And, the thing that caught my attention is a ridiculous amount of supply chain attacks. For example, uh, this one's not exactly supply chain, but this one is model control protocol is you can make is the code or server you use to connect an AI with real world actions. And apparently, this is very popular. Um, there's a Reddit post where the guy lists like a dozen things. People use it to automatically send email, automatically make purchases, and all kinds of things. And what I didn't know is the way people do it is they just download from like a GitHub repository somebody else's code, turn it on, and now AIs are connected directly to the real world and start controlling them. And so somebody put malware in the model control protocol thing you download and run without looking at. And this one was called Postmark MCP. It's downloaded 1,500 times every week and integrated into hundreds of developer workflows, and it handles email. And so, since a version, it's been quietly copying every email to the developer's personal server. Password resets, invoices, internal memos, confidential documents, everything. And this is reminds me of the guy last week that got all his crypto stolen because he downloaded a Steam game. People just download crap and run it on their
Yeah.
machine without realizing you're trusting that guy, some random developer you never heard of. And there are so many cases that basically all software developers are trusting 100 random guys because they're downloading like NPM packages. And those things have dependencies. And so you just have a whole lot of them. So there's a whole series of these. The two Rust crates have now, which is the equivalent in the world of Rust, they now steal your wallet keys for Ethereum and Solana
Yeah.
wallets. Um, and there's a new technique where ransomware now doesn't attack just your own servers and your own computers, they attack your cloud servers. And not only the cloud servers, they attack your cloud control plane. They steal AWS keys and then they take over the control plane, which manages your virtual resources, which is a classic weak spot. And they say traditional security tooling like endpoint detection and response will not detect this. And it's therefore necessary to install logging and monitoring on your cloud servers and on your cloud control planes. And right now, I don't think there are many products that do that. And anyway, one thing that is a positive step here is there's a new tool come out called Malfi Scan, an open source tool you can download, which detects malicious packages from external vulnerability fields, feeds, and searches for them in your package repositories. So I don't know how good it is, but there's a huge need for this. And I have heard of another commercial product. I forget the name. One of my consulting gigs, they said they're actually using some commercial product to try to scan their supply chain for known vulnerabilities. So people are becoming aware of this, and I guess the tooling is beginning to appear to do something about it. But it's very obvious that most people are not aware of how much risk they're taking when they just download random crap and run it. Anyway, that's the big.
So Sam, I got a story, not really supply chain, but kind of close enough,
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah.
So here's one teen, right? Wait, I gotta go back to this here.
Key.
Teen, teenager,
Oh,
kid,
okay.
right? Let's talk about this. Teen suspect surrenders in 2023 Las Vegas casino attack where two casinos were attacked.
Right. That was big because, of course, it's close to Black Hat and DEF CON. Yeah, the Vegas
Yeah,
casinos got
how
hacked.
much, how much do you know about it?
Not a lot. I saw an article, but I think I remember hearing about it when I was there for like Black Hat and DEF CON. And I
Yeah,
think
well,
it's probably why DEF CON got thrown out of the casinos and they had to move to the convention center.
uh, could be.
Yeah, because the casinos got hacked and they said, all right, we've had enough with cooperating with these here for rotten hackers. We're just going to throw your bums out.
Yeah, so MGM and Caesars,
Right.
well, MGM refused to pay. You ready for this? He's a teenage kid.
Yeah.
How much is he requesting in ransom?
I don't know. I know he personally had like 1.5 million in Bitcoin, which is not that much. I think the Scattered Spider demanded a lot more.
Yeah, so MGM refused. They estimate $100 million in losses
Right.
and 10 days of system outages,
Yeah.
which affected reservations, slot machines, room keys, and websites.
This is why I hear from my friends in the business of ransomware consulting. They say you always pay, everybody pays. Because if you don't pay, you'll lose a lot more money.
Yeah, yeah. And the other one is Caesars, in contrast, was reported by Wall Street Journal to have paid the 15 million.
Right. And therefore they save themselves 100 million. So the logic is kind of irrefutable, even though
Yeah.
it's a tragedy of the commons, even though it encourages the criminals, your business would be a lot better off paying.
Yeah, but they talked down the ransom and they got a 50% discount, so it was
Yeah.
30 million instead
Yeah.
of the ransom was for 30 million and they got a discount down to 15 million.
Yeah. And their competitor had to pay 100 million, so they benefited in the world of capitalist competition by getting off
Yeah.
cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting if you go to casino.org, which is, I guess, a website for the casino industry that's been around since 95. They have articles, and there's another attack in Arizona, the Las Vegas airline passenger, let's see, on a traveling attack. Oklahoma casino um, was attacked. FBI seizes dark website for ransomware group. There are a number of attacks going on there against the casinos.
Yeah. They got the money.
Yeah, they got the money.
And
So
ransomware is the new
that's the
hot.
best place to rob, right? Why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, he surrendered.
Unless Donald Trump is running it. When Donald Trump runs a casino, they don't have money. How you can not have money at a casino, that's an accomplishment, you know?
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
move on. Another attack there.
Yeah. Well, this is one that just came out. So Russia has now flown their drones over Denmark twice and shut down the airspace, so they had to cancel flights. And the Prime Minister of Denmark has declared that Europe is now at hybrid war. In the last couple of weeks, after Russia has expanded their attacks from the Ukraine uh, into three states. Denmark, Estonia, and Poland have all been invaded by Russian drones. So this really is Putin moving forward to continue starting World War III. And the United States, Trump makes it very unclear what side he's on. First, it was 100% for Putin and against Ukraine. Then he made a strange statement like Ukraine should fight back and they could totally win. So as usual, he nobody knows what the hell side we're on. However, to be fair, in World War II, nobody knew what the hell side we were going to be on either for a very long time.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
true.
this is the problem. I mean, I'd like to say this is Trump being rotten and horrible, worse than usual, but really, in this respect, he's the way America usually is. The fact is, there's a whole ocean in the way, and why should we really care if Poland falls? We've always had a lot of that attitude here.
Yeah, and there was a lot of fair amount of support for the Nazis in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I can't say things are a whole lot worse in this regard than they used to be, but I think they were wrong in both cases. I think we should be supporting the free world in Europe and opposing Putin and not be
Yeah.
on the side of the dictators that are just taking territory like Alexander the Great. But Trump is especially Denmark. I mean, Trump wants to take Greenland from Denmark. Isn't that it? So
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's more unclear than usual which side we're on.
Yeah, and if Denmark uh wants to relinquish control over Greenland,
Yeah.
it's my understanding from what I've been heard in the news that Britain has first dibs on it, and I'm not sure why.
Well, probably. There's usually these deals from the back when British ruled the world.
Yeah,
People got
yeah,
their independence from the British kingdom. There were strings attached.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's probably quite significant. And also later this week, Pete Hegseth meets with all the top generals, And boy, I see a lot of people trying to guess what that secret meeting is going to be about. And they compare it. Apparently, Hitler did this too. When Hitler got in, he had a special meeting with all the generals to say, okay, you have to relinquish your previous loyalty oath, and now your new loyalty oath is to me. And that's what Trump tried to do with Comey. When he fired him, he demanded that Comey pay personal fealty to him. And he said, well, I'll support the law and the Constitution. And Trump said, that's not what I want. I want you to support me. And now he's indicting Comey again, which is a big step forward. Now we really are one of these nations where you jail your political opponents. Yeah, and that way you can rig elections and such. I mean, Comey's not a direct opponent, but he would like to jail his political opponents. All, and the Supreme Court gave him the green light to jail or kill his political opponents a year ago.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're rapidly far down the slope to just be a military dictatorship. Anyway,
So, Sam, not to draw close parallels,
yeah.
but this is a lot of what's going on now is very similar when Nixon was president.
Nixon tried
When,
to do all this, but he didn't. Well, the analysis I've heard is Nixon would have done all this, but he didn't have Fox News. So he
yeah,
wasn't able to rally the support as much. So they planned this and they carefully caused a consolidation of the news agencies to create this current situation where it's much easier to control them. This is what happened in other um,
yeah.
democracies that collapsed to autocracies. And I heard people warning us about it 10 years ago, saying there used to be like 50 major players in the news industry, and now they've all combined down to like five. And once there's only five or seven of them, then they're all ruled by oligarchs. And then you just make a deal with the oligarchs. That's why all the billionaires are in Trump's cabinet and on the podium with him. Just like Putin, you make a deal with the billionaires, and the billionaires control the news. And therefore, you've got a state where you have propaganda.
Or we should say now in modern times, the oligarchs control the media. I'm sorry, not social media
Yeah. Well, they
and
control.
influencers.
Yeah, they control the mass media, but I have hopes that just like in the internet first came out, we said the internet is going to lead to a kind of utopia, and it kind of is because they can't control the disorganized news on the media on the internet.
Yeah.
And more people, especially the young generation, is moving to these random independent platforms, I think.
Yeah. Did you kind of relate it to this? Gavin Newsom in California has a bill
I don't,
that
which bill?
it's a bill that if you disparage someone online, it's a $500,000 fine.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
know about this at all.
And the second occurrence is it's a $4 million fine.
Wow. What
You,
benefit? And there already are libel laws and stuff. Uh,
so this goes to the proprietor or the owner of the website or the social media platform, not the individual who posts it.
so this is canceling Section 230. Wow. I mean, that would basically end the social networking, wouldn't it? Nobody would be able to let people put up random tweets or stuff anymore.
And who's to decide
Yeah.
what's disparaging or,
Newsom is pushing this. It doesn't sound like it would benefit him or California at all.
well, this is sort of like with the age verification, kind of that genre of where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's on the surface of it, this sounds like a really bad idea.
Let's see, website. I have not read the full story here. I just caught a
Yeah.
little bit of this.
Yeah, well, I'll have to keep an eye out for that and try to find out what's going on because on the surface of it, this sounds like a poorly thought out censorship regime and the kind of thing that would end the internet. This is basically
I
what Al Gore was proud of preventing with Section 230.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, I got one here. So the Open Software Foundation has published an article finally saying what seemed obvious to me decades ago. They're saying, all the open source projects are maintained by volunteers and we don't have enough money. And now we're all getting flooded with AI generated feature requests and bug reports and we can't keep up with it. And basically, the open source repositories are just like free hosting for all this crap. And so we really need to do this revolutionary thing called a business model where we actually need to start charging some customers for money to pay for this. And I'm like, well, good, you kids finally grew up. But of course, the whole point of open source software is that you're going to have software not tied to capitalist money flows. And I never understood how that was going to work anyway. And they're beginning to admit that's totally not going to work. They need
Yeah.
to have a business model where you only get some service for free and your bigger customers actually have to pay something, just like everybody else. So welcome to the real world, folks. Anyway,
Yeah.
and there is a similar drama happening at Ruby. I mentioned before, Ruby is having a huge crisis. One of the main developers turned out to be a Nazi, and the other guys kicked him out and took over because they didn't like his politics. And there's huge bickering. And it turns now the companies that fund it, apparently there's a few companies like Shopify and others that have been funding Ruby development, and they've said we're going to cut off the funding unless you kick this guy out and put this guy in charge and give us editorial control or something. And so basically, it's turning from a free community-based open source model into something that's going to be more under the control of Shopify. And I see
And
this as equal to the previous one. This is what happens. You have open source projects. It starts out as just one guy doing it as a hobby. Then a few more people
yeah.
join. Then they start bickering and fighting about things. Then like romantic entanglements or political disagreements appear, and they all start tearing it apart. And then they start getting corporate money. And then the people putting money in say, well, if I'm going to give you money, why don't you stop being such idiots? And it gradually turns into something more commercial and normal. Anyway,
And so Ruby, is this Ruby on Rails?
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
What happened to the Rails?
I never quite understood it, but I mean, apparently, I don't know. There were two parts of it, and now there seem to be only one part. Uh,
Okay, so it's
it's
Ruby without Rails.
well, I never quite understood that. It was a nice language, though. Ruby's a
Is it?
pretty language. Yeah, and I think Metasploit was written in Ruby for a while. It's very pretty looking, but it never seemed to get too popular. It was popular maybe 10 years ago. I don't hear that much about it now, but I guess Shopify must be using it because they're funding it.
Hmm, interesting. And
Yeah.
and the reason I bring that up is it was popular for websites
Oh, yeah, it was
10,
a website
15 years
development
ago.
platform, real popular for a
Yeah.
while. Then I just haven't heard much about it lately.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Just
Anyway, and
clarifying that.
And here's another one, by the way. The FTC got a $2.5 billion settlement from Amazon. Apparently, they say Amazon was tricking people into paying for Prime unfairly. And they said, in particular, Amazon had a button where you'd say, you buy your product and it would say, get your product shipped for free. And then have a big button that says, I don't want free shipping. And I guess if you tried to go for the free shipping, you're signing up for Prime, and that wasn't clear. So they claimed they tricked a bunch of people into signing up for Prime, and they didn't understand how much it was going to cost. And so now they're going to have a huge refund program to refund Prime membership fees to people who came in through the supposedly deceptive process. I was
I
surprised because I bought Prime a long time ago. I always knew what it was. I knew what it was doing for me. I didn't feel ripped off at all. But apparently, a
I
bunch of people ended up in Prime that didn't want to be there.
yeah, I think what's happened is that they made unsubscribing very difficult.
That too, yes. Yeah. Apparently,
And
I never tried to unsubscribe. I've been in for many years, and as far as I'm concerned, it's delivering plenty of value to me, and I don't want to unsubscribe.
yeah, I agree with you. However, I've had family members that have watched on Amazon videos that you get duped into an automatic subscription that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And Amazon will only refund you. Let's say that you've had it for a year, only 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Well, now they're refunding a lot more than that through this settlement, and they're supposedly reforming their process. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
it's good.
Okay. Yeah.
And and some people can get up to $50 back.
Is it 50? I thought
Yeah.
it was 25.
Now, apparently, it's up to $50 you can get back if you are one of the, and on top of that, I glanced at the Axios article, and they said for most of you, you don't have to do anything. It's going to automatically just be refunded to you through the Prime system. You don't have to file a claim or anything. So that's nice.
And if you click on accepting the refund, you automatically get subscribed to Prime, right?
Well,
For another year.
I know what you're saying. It could be that way. Sometimes it does work out that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, what
Yeah.
else? Oh, Sam, I forgot. I guess you missed it. I missed it. It was supposed to be the end of the world on Tuesday or Wednesday.
I heard about that. Yeah, some guy claimed that Jesus took him to the future and he saw Jesus was coming back. You know, this happens all the time, but every now and yeah, I saw a lot of jokes about it.
But it's a serious thing. The best end of the world was in May of 2020, 2011,
Yeah.
when there were two billboards as you cross the Bay Bridge going to Oakland. Do you recall those?
Oh, I don't remember those.
One of them on the right hand side said that the Bible guarantees it's the end of the world on May, I think, 21st,
Yeah.
2011. Time to repent. On the other side of the freeway was a billboard that said, "Day after end of the world party in Oakland, California. Come join us and celebrate the,
I think the party
the
people,
end of the world the day after."
I think the party people have a far more logical position. Yeah. I remember the guys that were selling Rapture insurance. You could pay them and they promise after you go to heaven, they'll like take care of your pets and stuff.
Oh my gosh,
That's
what
a
a business
I
opportunity.
know, I know. And this reminds me of like what Plato said, 2000 years ago. He said, this idea. So God raptures you to heaven. He's the all-knowing, all-wise God, and yet he lets your dog starve. I mean, this is like the whole concept of prayer makes not a lick of sense. Like, I'm going into battle, so I'll get the all wise, benevolent God that rules the world to spare me and have me survive because I begged him for it. And I promised to, like, sacrifice a sheep to him or something. So, this all wise, all benevolent God isn't such a big deal. He's a whole lot more like just an abusive parent.
Yeah, yeah, we could go off on this
Yeah.
one.
But
Anyway,
anyway.
we both missed the end of the world. We'll have to wait for the next one.
Well, we're obviously sinners. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
Yeah. And
so
any idea when the next end of the world is going to be?
I know the Seventh Day Adventists have been predicting it like every 2 or 3 years for about 100 years.
Have they been right?
Not, it doesn't seem like they've been right. Of course, one interpretation that people brought up is maybe this is hell, and that might explain a whole lot of what's going on. We are all dead, and this is hell. That might explain our current politics. Anyway, so
All right.
they're having a huge phone spyware scandal in Greece. They're comparing it very much to Watergate. The previous Greek government installed spyware and targeted the mobile phones of government ministers, senior military officials, judges, and journalists. And when it came out, they're trying to cover it up and block the investigation. So it's just like Watergate. And, this spyware thing is going on a lot. Like I say, I have all these students who are getting infected, and, that stalkerware and spyware is out there. People get their phones infected, and once somebody's got your phone, they pretty much got your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
anyway, that's
All
yeah,
right, you need another story.
yeah. Go
How
ahead.
about Windows 10 end of life is coming very soon,
Except for the Europeans,
except for the Europeans.
right? They get an extra year for free.
Yeah,
Although to
we'll
be
see.
fair,
Let's
apparently you can get an extra year in America for doing something pretty easy, like just turning on automatic backup.
Yeah, you or I think it's something like 80,000 Bing points or 50,000 Bing
Yeah,
points.
so they'll give you. It's pretty easy to get one more year, but after that, what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the point?
Well, you get one more year of Windows 10, and the Europeans are madder than hell just about the e-waste. They said what something like 300 million devices are being rendered obsolete for no apparent reason. Why can't you
Yeah,
just upgrade them to Windows 11? I did that. I upgraded all kinds of incompatible things to Windows 11. You just go in the registry and hack it or something. And
yeah.
Microsoft, you don't really need the new TPM module or anything. It runs fine without it. This is all garbage.
Well, it's a security, right? Increase your level of security,
But the
but it's not
previous level of
really.
security is fine. There's nothing that wrong with
Yeah.
TPM 1.1. This is Microsoft, as usual, being bizarre and
But
making
Sam,
requirements you don't need.
when haven't they?
I know, but it's very strange. You would. Microsoft is a very strange company. You know, you think you would
Yeah.
get rich by making a product your customers actually want, but Microsoft constantly forces you to take something nobody wants. It's a very strange, the model of Microsoft really is more like you're at work and your boss orders you to use it, as opposed to Apple's model, which is we make a good product you actually want to buy.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. You shake your head with Microsoft, but somehow
They're
they've
making
been
a
able
pile of
to
money.
survive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so they succeed, even though their model is really abusive and unpleasant. Yeah. Anyway, um,
yeah.
let's see. There's
What else you got
well,
here?
let's see. I'm looking. Oh, here's one. Uh, the FTC is the new proposed legislation will shield Americans' brain data from exploitation. They want information from your brain activity or signals that can reveal thoughts, emotions, or decision-making patterns, and they want to protect that, have bring privacy and prevent exploitation and build public trust as neurotechnology rapidly advances. So I hadn't thought of this one, but I guess they're thinking about Elon Musk's brain implant, and maybe they're thinking about devices you'd wear that would somehow measure your brain waves. I guess they think this is coming, and they're right that as soon as it comes, I'm sure everyone will start exploiting it to target ads and stuff like that. So anyway, there's going to be a bill to limit how your brain data moves. So that's something to look forward to. Uh,
Well, Meta's in the news again.
yeah.
Hear about this one with schoolgirls.
Well, I know they have some kind of like teenage version they're trying to get people into.
Nope, nope, nope. A mother whose Instagram picture of her 15-year-old daughter was used in a post advertising threads, Meta threads.
Oh, I remember
She
a few
said,
years ago there was some kind of deal where technically in the terms of service they could use anybody's posts to Instagram for advertising, and people got mad. But as far as I could tell, it was technically legal.
yeah, well, I but of a minor?
Oh, there may be more legal problems with a minor. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, Meta used the back to school pictures of schoolgirls to advertise one of its social media platforms to, you ready for this, 37-year-old man. In a move parents described as outrageous, upsetting, and I guess you could also say creepy.
How did you mean they targeted it and showed it to just this one guy?
That's
I mean, I
what the claim is.
oh well, that's getting strange. I thought they just put it like a public presentation to everybody. But
So the man noticed that the posts encourage him to get threads.
uh,
Let's see. Zuckerberg revealed to Elon Musk's X, I guess we'll call that Twitter,
yeah,
were being dropped into his Instagram feed, featuring embedded posts of uniformed girls as young as 13, with their faces visible in most cases, their
mm,
names.
that does seem pretty sleazy. Yeah,
Yeah, the images were used by Meta after their parents posted them on Instagram to mark their return to school. Parents were unaware. Meta was using settings that permitted them to do this, meaning Meta to do this.
yeah.
One mother said her account was set to private. That's
Ah,
interesting.
well,
But the
Meta has a
posts were
huge,
automatically cross posting the threads.
yeah, I mean, they have a huge history of that. That's
Yeah,
Facebook's whole business model is promising you it'll be private and a couple of years later making it public without telling you. They've done that over and over and over.
yeah, yeah.
And every time they
Uh,
say, oh, we're sorry, we won't do it again, and then they do it again.
so here I kind of find this ironic, but the father of a 13-year-old girl who appeared in one of the posts said it's absolutely outrageous. The images were all of schoolgirls in short skirts with either bare legs or stockings.
Yeah, well, I I can see how this gets on the child sex thing, which is the Epstein files and everything else. It's a hot button. It's a big taboo in our society, and I think people whose pictures are being used in that way should at least be informed, and their parents should be informed.
I would agree, but why is he sending his daughter to school in a short skirt?
Well, some of them have uniform requirements like that. I don't know.
Why is he sending his daughter to school?
I don't know. I don't know. But this is the big issue, right? Protecting the children is what leads to all the crackdowns. And they're not wrong. That's why, I have some
No,
sympathy with all
yeah,
these age gating people. There is a concern. Now, the fact is, when you implement it, there's a lot of collateral damage, but there is also a benefit in age gating and limiting this. So we have to try to balance those two.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of meta in the news again.
Yeah. So Tylenol stock has fallen by 7% because, President,
Ah,
the noted professional physicians, Donald Trump and RFK Jr., have determined, in defiance of all medical evidence, that Tylenol causes autism. And therefore, everyone's not buying Tylenol. So I was just listening to Scott Galloway, and he says what Tylenol should do is sue the president and RFK Jr. and strongly defend their brand. It's not clear what they're going to do, but this is amazing destruction of them based on nothing. And apparently, this is a real problem for pregnant women. I was unaware of this, but apparently, pregnant women have a lot of fevers and headaches and medical problems, and Tylenol is the only drug considered safe enough for them to take. So if they don't have Tylenol, pregnancy will be much more miserable. And apparently less safe. They say letting them have fevers, not bringing them down, is unhealthy. And the huge studies have shown that Tylenol does not harm the kids. So anyway, this is a pretty appalling thing, and it's all Trump trying to distract us from the Epstein files. I think he's willing to throw Tylenol under the bus to try to cover up his own child sex problems.
yeah, Sam, I don't know that I'll agree with you on that one. This is an RFK Jr. issue.
It is, but Trump wouldn't be going along with it if he didn't see some benefit for him in it. In fact, his original instinct was to go
But
against this because he was proud of the vaccine. And RFK Jr.'s whole thing is to end vaccines. So Trump's decision to go along with RFK Jr. Um, is a surprising move on his part. And of course, we don't know why, but I think everything. There was a leaked message a couple of weeks ago where Trump, when the RFK Jr. thing when the Epstein thing wouldn't go away, Trump contacted his people and said, "Okay, I need something big. Give me something big. We need something big to get rid of this Epstein thing." And he's just been doing lots of things to get headlines since then.
there was a movie with Dustin Hoffman that was about this. Do you
Wag the
recall
dog,
that?
right? Yeah,
Yeah, Wag the Dog.
yeah, same thing. You
Yeah,
create
yeah.
and also there was the one with Tom Hanks about a real war, how he wanted to start a war. And in order to get the war through, he exploited his drug scandal. So you use one scandal to cover another. By,
And
by letting them leak out a scandal about his drug use and prostitution, that distracted people from the fact that he had just started a war.
what was that movie?
I forget the name of it, but it was a real
Um,
story. Charlie Miller's War, I think.
yeah, Charlie something.
It was a real story. It really happened. It's
And what do you recall what the war was?
it was I think the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, our response to it, I think.
Huh,
But anyway, this is
okay.
the delicate art of politics. Uh, anyway, so I'll mention on this regard, another article has come out saying something I've seen many times that many vaccines lower your risk of dementia quite a lot. And it's strong evidence that if you're getting old like me and you'd prefer not to get demented like me, you should get the flu shot, the shingles shot, RSV, and something called Tdap, which is apparently pertussis. But they've
Yeah.
shown that these vaccines decrease your chance of getting dementia, and they don't exactly know why, but it makes sense. Presumably, if you don't get the shot, you get these diseases and they damage your brain. So I'm all for that. And anyway, let's see if anything else worth mentioning here. We talked about that.
Oh,
Oh,
Sam, we're missing another big story
yeah,
here.
what's that?
Trump's attack on H-1B visas.
Oh, the $100 million payment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100,000.
100, right, $100,000 you have to pay. Now the companies would have to pay $100,000, right? Yeah, and I Scott Galloway I think was against it, saying it was going to favor large companies over small. But I thought it was probably a good idea. Of course, I'm just thinking about the perspective of my students. My students will have more chance of getting a job if they can't just import foreigners for cheap.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one possible benefit. Um, we'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But then there was a 4chan attack. I think they called it clog the toilet
Yeah.
to block H1B workers from flying back. And what they were doing was they were purchasing plane tickets or making reservations for plane tickets.
Why did they
And
want
they,
uh, just to like harm the H-1B visas? Used to,
well, in other words, they couldn't fly back if they could
couldn't
get a
get back in the
ticket.
country, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay, so
it's kind of like a TCP half open attack.
right, but I mean, I guess this is sort of like the American workers trying to block the foreign workers from taking the jobs. Is that the idea?
No, it's preventing the H-1B visas from going back home.
And who does this benefit?
The H-1B visa holders
They are benefited by not being able to go home.
from being, I'll say, deported.
Oh, from being deported, from being forced to
Yeah,
go. Okay, fair enough. So
yeah,
it's an anti-ICE measure. Okay,
yeah. But this isn't ICE. This is H-1B
right, right.
H-1B
Okay,
visas.
but all
Yeah.
right. That meant I understand the sort of political side of it then. Okay. Yep. And
So, and and at the same time, fares were doubling.
yeah, yeah. And
So they tried to block the Indians, meaning from India, from
yeah,
returning ahead of the deadline by reserving seats without completing purchases,
yeah,
driving the surge.
yeah.
Within 2 hours of Trump's statement, the cost of a one-way ticket from New Delhi to New York, St. John, or to John F. Kennedy Airport jumped, well, doubled.
So they just saw an opportunity to make mischief. That's sort of a joke.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's a 4chan thing. Yep. So,
yeah.
I
But
got one more I noticed here. Salesforce has Agentforce. Salesforce has been pushing for about a year that they have AIs that will actually help your business. And now I know more. The one called Agentforce runs, I guess, on Salesforce's servers, and it will take business leads and then contact people for you. I've heard them talk about this one. Well, somebody found a vulnerability and an attack on it. Um, the way it works is it runs on their server and it's limited to where it can send data. So it's going to harvest data from your representatives that find leads and then contact people and send responses back to you or something like that. But what they found was there was an expired domain that was on the whitelist. So they bought that domain and then they found that they could submit leads and they could include prompt injection commands in the lead, which would then steal the data and forward it to that expired domain that they controlled. So they were able to exfiltrate company data to a third party site this way. And so now Salesforce has fixed it. But it is just another demonstration of the weakness of AI. All AIs suffer greatly from prompt injection. They're all subject to command injection. Nobody has a good solution. And although I must say Salesforce's model sounds better than most, it's basically sandboxed on their servers and can only send the data to approved locations. So that would seem to limit the risk. Anyway, um,
yeah,
everybody and their brother is turning on AI systems that can do things, and many of them are not secure enough. It's a lot like the migration to the cloud. Everybody put all their stuff in the cloud, and then it turned out there were security consequences people had not considered sufficiently.
yeah. So another story in the news here. Let's go into scam centers.
Yeah,
And several months ago, earlier this year, in Dubai, there was an arrest where 2,000 scammers were arrested.
yeah,
So the other big spot is Myanmar.
right. Myanmar, yeah,
Myanmar, yeah. And the claim is, under rights and freedom human trafficking,
yeah.
that there are 100,000 people being held in a city against their will.
Oh, yeah,
And these are operated by crime syndicates
yeah,
and the military operation that's going on there. And they literally have an entire city.
yep. It's a modern form of white slavery, really.
Yeah,
They scam
yeah.
these people in, they promise them jobs, and they take their passport, and they're basically trapped doing scams.
Yeah, I believe it was This American Life had a story about a woman who was promised a job, a foreign
Right.
job in Thailand. And she was paid, she was given the ticket, she was flown there. Somebody picked her up at the airport, and she was driven to a bridge and told to cross the bridge. And that bridge would have crossed over into Myanmar.
Right.
And she didn't go. And somehow she was able, I guess, I'll say, to escape
Yeah.
and tell the story.
Yeah. That's how you find out. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for.
So interesting
Yeah.
on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it for me this time.
Okay. And we'll have another one on Tuesday.
Sounds good.